Hello again, Fleet Commanders. Tiberius here, and today we are going to be talking all about territory capture. I know it's a topic that's been covered before in the past when the mechanics were sort of first released. It's been about a year, so I figured time to take another revisit at this. Let's take a look over it. We'll start with the video with some basics about what it is, how to be involved in it, the costs, the benefits, and then as towards further into the video, we'll start talking about some different strategies. There are obviously varying levels of success depending on, it really more depends on your alliance and what your alliance is capable of, the number of players you have, the levels of your players, the level ranges of your players, and also depends on the opposition, right? What kind of people are you competing against? And what their strategies might be that you might have to then deal with and try to counter. So the first things we're going to start with is territory capture. What is it? So it's this whole, wonderful section of the map down here. This little sector right here. It's about 39, 40 different sectors, give or take, of varying levels. You have some that are 1 star, 2 dot, 3 dot, 1 star, 2 star, 3 star systems. Um, Basic rule is that anyone can contest a 1 star system unless you already have territory. Um, in order to take a 2 star or a 3 star system, you have to own a territory that has a direct flight path into the one that you want to attack. So if you owned this 1 star, you could attack this 2 star. If you didn't own any territory, you can't start at a 2 star system. You have to start with the 1 star, get that, and then you can look to expand into an adjacent one. And it's not good enough that they're touching each other. Like this one right here, these are kind of touching each other. You have to have the little flight route into the system in order to be able to attack it. If you want a 3 star, you need to have, again, same thing. The 3 star systems have 3 different sectors, whereas the 1 and 2 star systems, there's only 2 sectors in each. Each sector has its own mining nodes. Some of them are isogen, some of them are other resources. The isogen ones could be 1 star, 2 star, or 3 star. 1 star isogen is also available outside of the sector. It is available in some of these generic nodes here on the outskirts, and also over here in Eclipse Space you can find some 1 star nodes. So you don't need to own territory for that. But for the 2 star and 3 star isogen, it can only be refined in territory. Now, if you don't own a territory that has it, you can still go kill other people's miners that are over the protected cargo and take it that way. In fact, there are a couple of events that they run each month that sort of encourage that type of behavior, because you'll notice that they score based on isogen docked, not on isogen mined, like a number of other events, which is basically encouraging you go kill people's miners that are over the protected cargo limit and get yourself some of that 2 star and 3 star isogen. Also, each territory, you also see here, there's tritanium, there's par steel, there's dilithium will be somewhere over here. There you go. Then you also have the other materials, gas, and gas is mostly up here. Ore is kind of over in this corner. Here's some of the ore nodes. And then crystal's kind of over this way. You've got some crystal nodes as well. The mining rate on all of these is drastically increased compared to regular space. Just to give you an example, here's a 3 star with my horizon here. It would mine at 44,624 per hour. That's for 3 star crystal in that particular system. I actually think the 3 star system might even be a little higher. Yeah, the 3 star system is higher. These also have bigger nodes. The 3 star system nodes go up to 50,000, and for the 4 star materials, they go up to 150,000. But you'll notice that the mining rate on this went from 40,000 up to almost 60,000, as compared to what's out in open space If we just go look at a 3-star crystal node way out here, regular people are mining at 29,000. So about half uh, what it would of the mining speed of having a 3-star node or having one of these big systems. There are only 6 systems that are these 3-star systems. There's 2 for gas, 2 for ore, and 2 for crystal. And they have 3 sectors. 2 of them will be 3-star materials, and the third one will be 4-star materials, which will have 10 mining nodes in it, so you can get 10 people or 10 ships can mine 4-star, whatever your particular resource is. Each system also has additional buffs, which you can see if you click on any system and you click on the little flagpole there, you can see the different services. This one has a defense enhancer, plus 80% base shield deflection armor and dodge to all ships. Makes your ships harder to kill, right? This is the cost associated with activating that buff. Costs 40,000 of these emitters, and this 2-star refined isogen. When you refine isogen in your daily refineries, it will spit out these types of things. You can't, as a person, you can't spend them for anything. They go directly into your alliance bank, and your alliance leader, your admirals and commodores, have the ability to turn on these different services and pay this cost. Um, only, only those guys can do that. Other buffs that are also available is an improved 3-star isogen refinery. Essentially, this lets you your refineries pay out better and have a better cost-benefit ratio when you have an improved refinery turned on. Fun fact, if you have like this 3-star improved benefit and it was on and you did your refine, and then this territory fight came up, for the split second when the minute when that territory fight is over and you've reclaimed this territory at the end of the week, all of your buffs are turned off. So then your improved 3-star isogen refinery would be turned off. You would have the option at this point, until it's turned back on, to refine 3-star isogen again at the lower rate, but it is an extra refine you can get in before your alliance leader turns it back on. Usually, if you want to be, an admiral or a commodore, let people know, like, hey, get your extra refine in. I'm turning the buff back on in 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is, and then they'll activate this service and turn this back on. Other things that are available here, some of them also have these particles generators. These are the phantom particles, along with some of the other isogen. There's 3 types of particles. You got the quantum particles. We'll just go into territory. So you've got your phantom particles, your quantum particles, and your Surax particles. These are kind of scattered throughout the different sectors as well. These are useful for a variety of researches in the territory tree. Metreon particles are also in some of the 3-star systems as well. There is a whole heap of research that you can do in the territory tree. All of it requires refining isogen. The amounts get larger and larger. You need this isoemulsion, which you get from refining isogen, 1-star, 2-star, or 3-star. 1 gives you the most, but 2 and 3 also give you some as well. And since you can do one of each day, highly advisable to do all 3 if you have ability to. So you can get through some of this research. But some of these ones out here, you can see these little icons. These require, the top row basically, for the most part, all require quantum particles. These require the phantom particles, and these ones down here require the Surax particles. It's kind of just straight across the board for the most part. This row gets a little wonky with the full impulse being a little out of line there, but it was a late addition to add. And then out here you see some of the Metreon particles start to come in on a few of these higher level ones. But there are a lot of good resources, a lot of good researches in here, things that make your stuff faster, make it cheaper in terms of upgrading research, buildings, all of these kinds of things, repairs, speed. So being involved in territory capture is It's a very important game mechanic and really can help push your things up to higher levels a lot faster. You have to be ops level 25 in order to use the refinery for territory. And if you have a Meridian, it obviously helps with your mining capabilities. Meridian is only available through various event stores currently. We don't have an additional sourcing for that, but if you can get your hands on a Meridian, some people like to say get two if you can. Um, one gets you a pretty good start, two lets you be pretty consistent and lets you kind of stock up for a little while, and then come back later. Not have to keep mining it continuously. But there are also other officers and things. A lot of the Ferengi officers that just now boost generic mining speed help with isogen mining, as do people like we'll go by name because I know Aram is the first one. Arium here. She has a captain's ability that boosts mining speed of isogen. So even if you don't have a Meridian yet, you can put her as the captain on your Horizon, Envoy, whatever you happen to be using. Um, but looking at some of your Ferengi officers, like Quark, for example, he just increases mining speed by 80%. Um, Same thing with the Borg Tribble, 10 of 10, 10 of 11 now. Uh, Increases the mining speed of the ship by 120%. Those are officer abilities. So you could put a Rom as the captain with each of them on the sides, um, and you're getting, 200 plus percent to the mining speeds. Even though you don't have a Meridian, you can still at least mine at a decent rate using officers like them. The other one who also helps is where's Melena? McKenna? Mackinnon. Yeah, there it is. Elena Mackinnon. Her captain's ability is advanced mining, so she can get synergy from other officers like DuPont or T'Pring, which boosts protected cargo, to boost her mining anything speed. And then her officer ability, as you level her up, also improves isogen mining. So these two will stack. So she's another good one to use on an additional ship for mining, like I said, with DuPont or T'Pring to boost the give her some synergy and boost the protected cargo of the ship so she can stay out mining for a lot longer. I mentioned that each of these little sectors to activate these buffs does have a cost associated with turning them on. This one requires emitters. Also, this one requires diodes and emitters. This one has a defense platform enhancer, so this is base defense. Also requires diodes. These are all things that you can also get through the refinery. When you do your 2-star and 3-star, it gives you these little honeycomb looking things. 2-star gives you some, 3-star gives you more, and then you can convert them into these diodes, emitters, reactors. Don't really usually need a lot of cores. Cores are more for attacking territories, but you tend to get them pretty regularly through a lot of other stuff. It's very infrequently that you'll need to refine these. Um, the conversion rate is 800 and almost 9,000 of these things into 440 of the actual unit. So if your thing needs 20,000, that's a lot of conversions. So you're going to need a lot of people in your alliance consistently mining isogen and doing the refineries. Again, you have to be at least Ops 25. So if your alliance is mostly players under Ops 25, it's either going to get really expensive, or you're going to end up having to buy packs from the store and stuff like that in order to keep your services turned on. And it might be more beneficial to you to wait for some of those more of those players to get to 25 and higher, so they can start doing their isogen mining and then contributing to the alliance bank. We'll just take a look in here, like you can go see in your territory. You can see in your inventory. This is how much of these different refined isogens, these are the different resources and things that we have available in our alliance bank, because everybody's mining, everybody's refining and contributing to this. Many hands make light work really does hold true in this case. Some alliances just like to say, hey, we're short on this. can everybody who can do a refine go refine diodes? And people will jump in and be like, all right, let's go refine some diodes. Go to our territory tab. Oh, we need diodes. Bam, let's go hit this. Whatever I can hit, let's hit it. Other alliances prefer to just assign people. Like they'll just break it up and they'll just say, all right, there's 60 people in the alliance. The first 20 alphabetically, or whatever. The first 20 people, you guys are on the list. You guys, only thing you do is refine emitters. Only thing you guys do is refine diodes. The last 20 people, all you do is refine reactors, which I think is kind of the list I'm on right now. So we're going to do that, and we're going to refine some reactors for my alliance. I can actually do it again, so let's do it again. Bam, there we go. Just contributed 8,800 reactors to my alliance. So if we needed 20,000 to turn on a buff, well, I just contributed about half of that. So we should be good for a little while. The number of territories that you can hold is based on your alliance level. It's pretty early, so it changes right here. When your alliance hits level 20, it goes to the max, which is 5 zones. If your alliance is lower than level 20, you can see here it's only 4, or then it'll be down to 3 and 2. So as you're a newer alliance, you have to build up through contributions to get your rewards up. Kind of something you're going to want to do anyway, so you can get more members and so you can get more alliance helps, so you can get things built faster. But when you hit Ops 20, level 20 for your alliance, you get to the 5th zone, which is the most that any alliance can hold at one time, is 5 zones. All of your zones have to be connected in order for you to basically maintain them. So if we look right here, for example, these 3 zones for this wild alliance were all connected. Now that this RFT alliance has come in and taken Thaz, they've split the 2 of them up, which means that this alliance won't be able to defend both of these territories. They can keep the territory. The territory is active. The territory is theirs until the timer runs out, which this one does in about 6 hours. And this one's got a few more hours left on it. This one has a full day on it. But because they have unconnected territories, they're basically, when they want to defend this one 6 hours from now, they're going to have to drop this one, because they're going to have unconnected territories, unless this one happens to be before then and they could take it back. No, this one's 3 days. So if they were able to retake this first, they'd be able to keep both of these. But they're basically going to have to drop this 2-star one in order to defend this one. Their other option would be they could drop this one, keep this one for 1 more day, and then tomorrow they'd have to drop this one as well, and then they'd be free to move anywhere else on the map. If you have territory, like I said earlier, you can only go after adjacent things. If you wanted to just sort of, we're kind of boxed in here, there's really nowhere for us to go, we can't punch our way out of this little corner, you could drop your territory, and then you could try and move somewhere else and go to a different section of the map. And, well, maybe we could go down here, we'll take this 1 star, and then there's a couple of other smaller alliances here that we could kind of maybe expand a little bit and get 2 or 3 territories out of. That's kind of how whatever your alliance is capable of. If you have a strong alliance and you can hold, some good sectors, that's certainly an option. To hold multiple sectors that are adjacent to each other, usually, the stronger, the higher level of the alliance, they usually have 4 to 5 sectors attached. With some of the strongest buffs, they'll hold at least one of the 3-star territories, if not 2. It is possible to stretch. If you line them up correctly, you can stretch from 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And certain sections of the map you can kind of go across the top. Also here, 1, 2. No, it went the wrong way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you can hold multiple 3-star territories. The 3-star territories have stronger buffs. They also have the 4-star resource nodes. They also have the ISS Jellyfish blueprints, are available on all of them. You have to be Ops 39 in order to claim this. see the other video I just did about the ISS jellyfish and how to get it for more details on everything that's involved here. Um, but you look at some of the benefits here: 300% base shield health to all ships, up to, depending on your ops level. This is a pretty big boost to your shield health, though. Um, but these buffs are also, sorry, I wanted to show you that, they're more expensive to activate. 150,000 to turn this on. 140,000, 140,000. Some of the ones we were looking at earlier were only about 20,000. This one's a lot more expensive. A lot better benefit, a lot more cost involved. So if you don't have people consistently mining and refining isogen and getting those particles and those diodes and emitters and things that you need, you're not going to be able to maintain the services. Um, Holding multiples of these is very difficult because you're spending double the resources every single week. And it can be very hard to keep both services active. Sometimes you'll see people, they will claim two of them and then maybe they'll swap out, drop one off. If you happen to be allies with somebody, I've seen allies where they alternate, they take turns, or they'll make an agreement. Like, these two alliances, I think, have an agreement that they kind of share the sector. So, like, they'll take it for a week, and then when it's up, they'll drop it. They won't contest. They won't try and defend it. These guys will move in. They'll take it. They'll take ownership for a week. They'll get the benefits of the services. Then they'll drop it, and that way it gives the alliance time to recoup all those resources that you need to turn those buffs on. So they basically have like one turbocharged week and then like a week off. Um, Move their bases out and things like that. Other benefits of territory capture, as we just talked about, all of the alpha systems have the ability to house bases, and you can move your base in here. There are spots for 24 bases, 6 around each system. There's 4 planets in each system. If your alliance loses the territory, you will not be able to shield until you move your base out. So if you have ships that are out in deep space or something like that, or out sitting on a mining node, and your alliance loses this territory, if your existing shield is up, it will stay up. If your shield goes down, like this guy's did, you will not be able to reactivate it, which basically means you're going to get raided and get all your stuff stolen. Unless you recall all your ships and move. But like I said, if you already have a shield up, you get to keep it. You just can't put a new one up while you're in a territory you don't own. You also can't mine on any nodes in sectors that you don't own. But we have the isogen nodes, and like I said, we have the other mining nodes and things as well. Territory fights. They come up once a week. The time stays the same for each sector. So this one is coming up in about 3 hours. So it'll always be the same day at the same time. So that'll want to be based on what time I'm filming this. This one will be Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time. Excuse me. And that's it. That's every server across the world. This thing is in the same time slot. The time of day will be different for each server, right? But these all should follow the same order and go in the same pattern. One-star sectors, it is a 30-minute timer for the fight. The fight lasts 30 minutes. 2-star systems are 45 minutes. 3-star systems are an hour-long fight. You score points. We'll look at that in a second. Take a look here. This one's going on active right now. So they have 1,240 points. This is a 1-star sector, so it's a 30-minute fight. So this has been going for about 12 minutes here. At the end of each minute, when this hits 0, it will award points to any alliance competing in that territory capture based on two things. One, the number of ships that they still have that are alive. So they just got 133 points. So they got 1 point for every single ship that's part of this alliance that's in one of those territories, either alpha or beta. And you get 3 additional points if you have a ship that's occupying a capture node. We'll go look at this one right here. There's a limited number of these capture nodes here. Occupying these gives you 3 additional points. All points are scored at the same time at the bottom of a minute. That's important for our territory, for our strategy section, because there's a number of ways that people will use to try and capitalize on that very specific window in which points are awarded. But occupying a capture node gives you 3 extra points. So you get 1 point for the ship and then 3 points for the node. In the final 1/3 of the timer, you go into overdrive mode and all point values are tripled. It's like the end of Family Feud when they want to get the show over with. It's like we're just tripling the point values. Somebody please win this game. So occupying capture nodes is worth 12 points. Having a ship in the system is worth 3 points during the final third of the timer. So where did we go? Up here. So this was a 30-minute fight. So when they get down to 10 minutes left, they're going to go into overdrive mode. Overdrive mode. And their point values are going to triple, and they're going to start getting a lot more points. The 2-star sectors here, these are 45-minute fights. So when it gets down to 15 minutes, you go into overdrive mode. The 3-star sectors here, these are 60-minute fights. So when you get down to 20 minutes left, you go into overdrive mode. These are long fights. Usually, when you're fighting for it, it's a long fight. It's usually and 20 minutes of overdrive mode at triple points can really change things. Even if you have a big lead or a decent sized lead, if the other alliance that's competing with you for this territory happens to get a few capture nodes, happens to knock you off a few capture nodes, they can swing things pretty quickly towards the end there. Okay. Other things to keep in mind, this will vary based on your server. Some servers have specific rules of engagement as it relates to territory captures, in terms of how early you're allowed to attack stuff. Like if this alliance is going to defend this system, and it starts in 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So, 10 minutes beforehand, they set up all their ships in their system. They've got their nodes occupied. They're ready for the defense. They've got, 50 ships or whatever from their alliance. 50 is actually a low number. Probably we'll say 100 ships, make it a more realistic number. So they've got 100 ships in the system occupying it, and they're ready to go. Um, if this group here wanted to attack them, when are they allowed to do that? Some servers are just like, well, hey, warships are allowed to be hit at all times, so just go for it whenever you feel like it. Other servers have specific engagement, so like they get to set up, and these guys can't come into their territory and start attacking them until, maybe 5 minutes early or 10 or 15 minutes early. So check with your server to see if there are any specific rules of engagement about that. Warships are fair game at all times, but maybe miners aren't. So when can you hit the miners that are on the isogen nodes or the capture nodes? If people put miners, most rules of engagement say a miner on a node can't be hit outside of ROE or whatnot. Once the territory fight starts, usually it's all bets are off. All ships are fair game. Kill anything that's not part of your team. Um, as far as, again, things that vary per server in terms of alliance, ally help and support. So Borg here is defending this system. Arla comes over and wants to take it, and Arla is buddied up with War. Well, War wants to send some ships to kill some Borg ships to help their friend out. Are they allowed to do that? Most servers say yes. Some servers have a limit on it in terms of, well, you can only get help from one fellow alliance or two fellow alliances. They don't want, basically they don't want it to be whoever has the most friends wins. They want it to actually be, Arla here has to compete and put enough of their own players into the fight. Again, check with your server ROE to see where that may come into play. If your server has any particular rules about that, feel free to leave it in the comments. I tried to do a little bit of research into a variety of server ROEs to find out some of this stuff, but always interested to hear what other servers are doing. So something you can leave in the comments below. But yeah, like I said, it's also coming down to how early they're allowed to go in, how many alliances you can have helping you out, may vary based on your server. Other thing to keep in mind, during a territory capture fight, there are no PvP level restrictions. So a level 60 can hit a level 12, and anywhere in between. Um, that is done completely on purpose, because otherwise, you know, the lowest level alliances on the server might actually be able to get some of the biggest territories that they really don't have a right owning or the ability to refine isogen and things like that to activate the services for, but they would simply be able to get it because they would just flood the system with their low level, Orion Corvettes and whatnot, and players above, Ops 15 or 16 or whatever wouldn't be able to hit them. Actually, at that level, it's really only, 2 levels apart, but yeah, you get the idea. So during an active territory fight, like this one going on right here, all bets are off, all level restrictions are off. Level 60s could hit a level 1. If a level 1 could make it here, a level 60 could hit him there. Um, it takes warp range 20 to get here, so you're really not getting here before, uh, any of the early ops levels. Probably aren't getting here. Maybe if you have, tier 3, tier 4 Scotty on your Rialta, um, maybe you could make it here. Probably not, but hey, you never know. All right, so we talked about scoring. We've talked about the different benefits, the different perks. And like I mentioned, there are a lot of different. Choose your territories carefully because a lot of them have different buffs. Um, Construction efficiency enhancer is a good one. Reduces the cost efficiency of partial titanium and dilithium for buildings. There's one of these for research. There's one of these for ship components. I think there's actually 2 of each of them scattered throughout the different sectors. I just happen to know Param off the top of my head. This is a great buff. Very cost effective for leveling up buildings. Moving up ops levels, especially as you get into the higher levels where everything starts costing billions, and above ops 50, some of those things actually cost trillions of resources. So having a modification to that like this on top of your research, lowering those costs down, certainly helps. Like I said, there's ones for research and for ship components, leveling up ships and building up, getting your research and stuff done. Also comes in handy. There are ones for PvP enhancers that reduce the damage taken or improve your armor, let you increase your damage. There's ones for armadas for you doing more damage when you're attacking an armada. I'll go take a look at this now. So there's all kinds of different buffs in these different zones. There's ones for mining speed. There's ones for getting resources to improve your sarcophagus, scattered throughout a variety of systems as well. But you can see here they were getting, what do we say, about 130 points a minute beforehand. So now that we're in overdrive mode, you can see this little lightning bolt. It's like the lightning round, right? It's like a game show. I like that. I like game shows. But now they should get close to 400 points here. All right. Well, they got less points, so people might have left, um, or the people aren't on nodes and they're still just, yeah. I'm guessing they only got about 100 and something points. So I'm guessing people left, or somebody went through and destroyed them, which could be the case. At any rate, they should have gotten a lot more points there. All right. So we talked all about the scoring, we talked about the benefits, we talked about the costs. Now let's get into some different strategies. I'll try and put a bookmark here if I can remember at the 30 4 minute mark, 35-minute mark. So we're going to talk about different strategies here that people have used successfully in territory takeovers. Figure out which one works best for your alliance. Like I said, it's all going to vary based on the size of your alliance, the size of your ships. It really is most of the time a numbers game. The more ships you have, the more points you get. Um, so if you're trying to attack a territory and you have 6 docks, you need all 6 of your ships in that system. In order to manage this successfully, we'll go to one of our systems here, just so I can take a look at it. You have to grab your capture nodes, of course. Your biggest ships should be on those. Sarcophagus gets a huge bonus on excuse me, all this yakking I'm doing. Getting a little something going there. So the Sarcophagus is the ship of dreams here for this type of fight. This little guy right here. You'll notice its attack value is incredibly low, but its bonus when attacking or defending on a capture or mining node in an active takeover, weapon damage is increased by X% based on your ship's level. This ship is incredibly slow. Incredibly slow when moving through systems. It is a battleship. So your best opportunity, if you kill one of these ships or see one flying in toward a node, is kill it before it gets there, because the bonus that it gets to weapon damage only applies when it's attacking or defending a capture or a mining node. Very low attack, relatively speaking, 92,000 compared to, an enterprise that's over 1,000,000. Similar power, similar tier strengths, tier 5, tier 6. Huge difference in attack values, because the attack bonus is this 125,000% increase on the Sarcophagus. If if members of your alliance have some high-level sarcophagies, those should be the people who are parking them on the different nodes in the system. Get them on the capture nodes. If you're defending your territory, get them on the capture nodes before the fight starts, before the invaders start coming in and trying to take them from you. Get yourself some other key ships kind of stationed around here to provide some additional defense and support to defend these nodes. You don't get any type of occupying bonus for the Isogen or whatever other mining nodes might be in your system. Like, you get extra points for being on the capture node. Still just 1 point for being on one of these. But it does apply all of your buffs, and if because there's a limited number of these capture nodes, so there's 8 in this system, and let's go look at alpha real quick. I think there's maybe another 8 or 10 in here. 2, maybe not even that many. 4. So there's 4 in alpha and 8 in beta. So that's 12 total capture nodes giving extra points. So if you have more than 12 people with a sarcophagus, you could park a sarcophagus on a mining node, still get the same benefit, the attack, defense, boost to your attack value on one of these nodes as well, and still kind of get the strength out of it that way and get an extra use out of it, making it very tough for your opponents to come in and kill that ship. So you want to get some of the biggest sarcophagus if you have them. If you don't have them yet, just whoever has the strongest ship in your alliance, the top 10 people in your alliance should each put one of their strongest ships parked on one of these nodes. Then they're going to use one of their other strongest ships kind of around it. It's going to help protect against anybody trying to come into the sector and attack it. They can intercept them, pick them off on the way. Even if they die, at least they've weakened it, so then when it hits the ship that's on the node, maybe it loses. You'll see teams sometimes will create little mini parking lots. Some of the low-level players who don't really have very strong ships, they'll just come hang out here in the middle. So you've got the nodes with the big ships on them, you've got some big ships in this area defending them, and then you parking lot a bunch of little smaller ships, or even if these guys, because they know they can't operate multiple ships at the same time. If you have 6 docks, you can't run 6 ships at a time. Some people can maybe, but most people can't keep that many ships moving and active and doing things with them constantly. So they'll park some of their extra ships just kind of here in the middle, where they can keep an eye on them. They're kind of clustered up together. They're scoring, they're 1 point and they're pretty well defended. Any attackers are going to kind of have to come through across the system from the various warp points. It's another strategy that people use when they're defending. Look at where are the warp points into the sector. So if we're defending Rajust here, all right. Well, this is our first sector, so this is a warp point here. But these guys could come in. So they would come this way. They'd come in at 3 o'clock. If people were attacking from this side, they'd come in here at about 5 o'clock, and people coming from here or anywhere else going along this flight path would come in at 9 o'clock. So if you're in your system and you're like, where do we want to set up, a bunch of our defenders? If we have allies coming to help, where do we want our allies kind of hanging out? They want to hang out where the warp points are. They're going to come in from this side here. They're going to come in from this angle down here. And they're going to come in from this side over here. So you don't need a whole bunch of allies kind of camping out at the top of the sector because there's no warp points in there. There's no warp path. So you don't necessarily need a whole lot of people hanging out here. Now, obviously, people can come up, warp into the sector and kind of head up this way. But if you have defenses kind of spread this way, you can pick them off on the way. I also mentioned, like I said, sometimes alliances will set up these big parking lots. If they're attacking, they might just warp in and just sit right here on the fringe and just set up a big parking lot here of a lot of low-level, smaller ships. Rialtas, Orion Corvettes, Findras, those kinds of things that are really quick and cheap and easy to repair, things that take less than 5 minutes. So when it does get destroyed, you just instant repair it very cheaply, no speed ups needed, send it right back out. And again, just get it there since you score points at the bottom of every minute. They're also, if you're attacking from an adjacent sector, it's a very short flight path if you have your base station there. So if the ship gets killed, it's not really a big loss because you just send it right back out there. Get it right back in the parking lot surrounded by your friends, and, hopefully they're killing whoever it is who's coming to attack. A lot of times you see people, they have to shift their parking lots because people start calling it out. Hey, there's a parking lot down here at the bottom at 6 o'clock or whatever. And then, some ships start coming over to try and kill those things, or some cloaked ships pop up in the middle and start picking off some of the tiny little Rialtas and stuff, whatnot. So then you'll see everybody start scattering and they'll start moving. And they start moving up around the sides, around the outside. You'll see them use a lot of speed crews. There are 3 different officer sets that improve impulse speed. We have, she's under M for Michael. So we got Michael Burnham, who's a epic discovery officer. Her captain's ability here increases impulse speed of the ship by 15. She can then get synergy boosting that more. That's just a flat to the number boost. Claw, who's right here, who's a uncommon you get very early on in the game, who most low-level players should have access to. He boosts the impulse speed of the ship by 25%, and then again he can get synergy to increase that even more. Smaller ships have smaller impulse speeds, but they're still pretty good. Getting a 25% buff to that is pretty strong. And then Pan is a rare officer. He increases impulse speed of the ship by 20%. And because he's a rare officer, he gets a little bit better synergy than Claw if you have other officers from his group that are going to boost that even more. So you'll see people, and they'll put a speed crew on a Rialta. And, they're level 15, level 20. They can't really compete with the big ships. Their goal is to just stay alive as long as possible to score points. And they will just fly around and run around with their little Rialta. And because of the speed crew, it's harder for other people to catch up to them. So they can just sort of keep running away and keep running around the outside and getting away from attacking players. You will also see, this is usually useful if you are an ally and you are supporting an alliance who's defending, who's trying to compete in a takeover. The Vidar, the Saladin, are interceptors that have very high impulse speeds. You will see people put one of those speed crews on that ship And as an ally, your whole goal is just to kill the enemy. So you will use your speed crew and you will chase down all of these smaller low-level ships. Anything bigger than you just ignore it. You can't kill it. You use somebody else, somebody bigger than you will get it. You use a different ship yourself to get it. But you use your speed crew to chase down and pick off as many of their smaller ships as you can, because you're just trying to kill things to keep the points off the board. Every ship you kill is one less point they're going to get if they don't get it back in time before that 1 minute clock changes. If you can fly in and um, and pick off get a couple of ships that are clustered up together, you'll see people use the cloaking ships. They cloak a ship, they fly into like the middle of a group, they attack one of the ships there, and then they quick try and pick off two or three more around it before anybody else discovers that they're there, and they move, and then they're mashing the button trying to attack you, and you're mashing the button trying to attack them. Let's see what happens when I start mashing buttons. Now my ship starts moving, and you try and just get as many ships as you can. Hopefully you can keep killing enough smaller ships. Maybe your cloaking timer, your cooldown expires, and then you can quick cloak again and then move to another part of the system. Chances are you might end up just dying, but then you just come right back and kill some more ships. As you know, if you're an ally helping, that is your primary goal, is just to kill enemy ships of the scoring alliance first. That should take your first priority. Their allies, kill them when you can, but that's more. They're more. Them being there is also more of a distraction. Every minute you spend killing an ally keeps a ship for you know the alliance that's participating alive longer, which means they might score that point. That's still a good job for the ally. He's done his job. He's acted as a distraction. You killed him. The other team still got the point. So sometimes every point counts. I've lost territory fights. I've won territory fights by less than 100 points. Um, over a 30, 45, 60-minute fight, 100 points is, one ship a minute, two ships a minute that scored, that didn't score. Somebody scored, somebody didn't score. A little bit of a swing there, especially during the overdrive period where you're getting the extra points. Can definitely make a difference. So we talked about the parking lot mentality, camping out, putting a big cluster of guys together, making it kind of easy to defend. Downside is of course, it makes it easy for your opponents to know where you are because all your ships are together. But the question is whether or not they can actually do anything about it. Just because all your ships are clustered together and they know where they are doesn't mean that they can actually get their stuff down here and kill any of it. And you can set it up in a variety of spots. Some people like to put in between the nodes. Some people like to camp it out right in the middle of the system, so everybody has to fly, the furthest to get to them. You'll figure out what works best for you and for your alliance. You park some big ships kind of around them on the outside, keep the smaller ships in the middle, and make everybody sort of have to go through to get that stuff going. Speed crews definitely come in handy. Other thing I wanted to talk about, other strategy that I've seen used is the warp method. So like I said, you only score points at the bottom of the minute. Well, there's like a 20 or 30-second flight time between sectors. So if you are here and you warp over to this system, maybe you get here right at the bottom of the minute. You quick pop in. There's only 3 or 4 seconds left. You score your quick point, and then you warp out. And you warp over here. It takes 15 to 20 seconds for you to fly there. And as soon as you get here, you quick turn around and you warp right back. And then 15 to 20 seconds back. And now you fly around here for 5 or 10 seconds, get your point, warp back. If you keep warping back and forth like that, it makes it very hard for your opponents to lock onto you and target you before you warp out. And if you keep kind of warping in from different spots, obviously they'll start to set up their defenses closer to the edge here, so they can pick you off as you're coming into the system. But it is certainly an option and a strategy that you can use. The other one that I wanted to talk about, It's kind of got a little funny name. This is kind of like the whack-a-mole one. If you are defending and you have a bunch of your bases and your smaller players and things like that, um, they'll fly run a couple of their ships around and whatnot. The other option is again right as that timer is getting down to the end, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, pop your ships out of your base, score, and then as soon as you score, run them back inside. Um, this especially works if your base is shielded and people can't attack you. You don't attack anybody to lower your shield. You just, take your smallest ships, Orion Corvettes, Rialtas, Findras, uh, whatever else you got down there. That's that low. Fortunates, that's the other one. The miners. Just build a couple of these real cheap. Get them up to like tier two. You don't really need to take them that high. Um, you don't really need to upgrade them at all, to be honest. It's really just to make sure you just need to have cheap ships. Throw those speed crews on or whatever, fly them around. They get killed. Who cares? It's 12 seconds. It's 12 par steel to repair it, and it takes 45 seconds. Instant repair, boom, done. Send it right back out. You'll see people. They kind of they're bubbled up, so nobody can attack their base and destroy all their ships. Um, they don't attack anything to lower it, and they basically just 10 seconds to go. Quick, run your ships out, and you can just quick pop them out and pop them out right here along the border of your system, of your base, and just bing, 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 bing. Okay, your ships are all out. You scored. Retreat, 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 retreat. Run them right back inside. People will start to camp some defense ships in this area, but if you pop them out at the 2 second, 3 second mark, it's kind of hard for them. Maybe they get one of them, but the other three or four will still score. The other thing you can do, of course, is you can just sort of click a path and just sort of send them all out here. Just send, 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 send. Get them all out here, and then fly them around a little bit. And if they get destroyed, you kind of and then if they get destroyed, you just wait, and then you pop them back out right before the minute mark to score again, or you get them out a little bit of the ways, just run them out this way, and then hit recall and send them right back. So that way they scored, they're back in your base, you wait 40, 45 seconds, and you just do it again. Uh, Quick way to score points, especially for lower level players again, because their ships are going to get destroyed very easily, and you also don't want their bases unshielded, because then players will just start attacking their base. Bigger players will start attacking their base, destroying all their ships, destroying their defense platforms, and possibly stealing some of their resources in the process. Um, Cargo hold on a big ship isn't usually too high, but to an Ops 14, losing 100,000 par steel could be pretty significant. So, um, lots of different This is sort of like the whack-a-mole approach, because they just pop out and you're quick trying to whack them before they go back inside. We talked about that one. We talked about the parking lots. We talked about the warping. There's always the biggest ship mentality, of course. That still reigns true. If you just take your 5 biggest ships with your 5 best crews and just go at it and kill stuff. Other thing to keep in mind too, if you are an alliance leader and you're asking for help from your allies, a couple things here you want to be mindful of. Um, the more allies you have, it's great because it's more people that you have to your defenses and whatnot. But it's also more defenses that you're sort of obligating your team to also be in. So if RFT here is an ally, and we have 5 territories, so we're going to do 5 base defenses a week, and they have 5 territories, well, that's 5 more. So now that we're doing 10 and they're doing 10 because they're supporting us in each of ours or most of ours. The ones that don't have like a direct flight path, like some of these ones clustered up here in the middle, maybe, or like we'll take this one like Elder for example. All right, so we are allies with them. We're not going to attack them. Nobody else can attack them because it's a 2-star system. So nobody else has a direct flight path because they own the adjacent 1-stars that are touching it in Clefaska and Thaz. So Elder here wouldn't need ally support to defend it. It's basically a 1-point win. Somebody shows up, plants the flag and says, all right, we get to keep this for another week. So you don't need to ask for ally support for something like this. It's a level 2 or a level 3 that's basically landlocked by yourself and your allies. Don't need to make people drop what they're doing to commit ally support to defend something that nobody else can take. But again, if you do need ally support for things, make sure to ask in advance to give people like, hey, we've got this territory fight coming up tomorrow at 2 o'clock. How many of your guys can be there? Give them time to sort of plan and let their people know, so it's not a very last minute thing. People do better when they have time to prepare and organize their day. Okay, I've got to do this and I've got to do this. Well, this territory fight is at 2 o'clock. Well, that's right in the middle of my work day. But you know what? I can take my lunch break at 2, and at least I can show up for 15 minutes or whatever and try and help out for a little bit. I'm sure you'd rather have that than have them not show up at all, because it's like, oh, you didn't tell me until an hour beforehand. I was at work. There's nothing I could do. I'd already taken my lunch, or I'd already scheduled my bathroom break or whatever it was I was going to do. Go sit on the toilet for 10 minutes or whatever and just fly some ships around. Whatever it was. Um, and again, if you have 3 or 4 allies that you're friends with, great. But now you're committing yourself and your team to more defenses as well. They're sending, if you've got 4 buddies, if you've got 3 buddies, so there's 4 of you in the group, and you each have 5 territories, that's 20 territories. 1 or 2 of them are going to be landlocked by each other depending on where you are on the map. Maybe a few more, if you're lucky, will be sort of landlocked. You won't need to really send a lot of troops to help defend, but depending on where you're spread out on the territory map here, you could be committing yourself to 15, possibly 15 territory defenses a week. Um, and that's a lot for people to ask. It's a big time commitment. Not everybody's that dedicated and willing to put in that type of time. They're not full-time players. They have wives and kids and work and school and all kinds of other activities. Um, you know, Sometimes it's hard enough just taking the time to get all your events and your dailies and stuff done. You don't have the time to commit to that many defenses. So keep an eye on that kind of thing if you're an ally leader in terms of what you're committing yourself to. The way you can sort of mitigate that a little bit is the early release method. So we mentioned here that, this 1-star fight went 30 minutes. It was uncontested. Nobody else showed up to it. So War defended this without any challenge from another alliance. If they had asked for ally support to help defend it, because there are people who could have attacked them, plus it's a 1-star, so anybody not on the map could also try and jump in and make a claim for it. Or the possibility that somebody on another spot on the map might have dropped their territories and then tried to be like, you know what, we're going to move over here. Always a viable strategy. Do you get kind of yourself boxed into a corner, or you see, sometimes they do, they shuffle the bonuses. They move some of the bonuses around. Every 6 months or so, we do like a territory war kind of thing, and suddenly they'll be like, all right, well, we're changing the bonuses. Instead of Param being a bonus that adds to the construction enhancement, it's now a PvP bonus, and the construction enhancer gets moved over here. And Borg is like, no, we want that construction enhancer back. We're going to drop our territory. We're going to move over here, and then we're going to try and take these territories to get our buff back. But if your territory fight, as I was saying before I went off on my little side detour there, if your alliance has asked for help and the system is uncontested, don't make your allies sit there for 30 minutes defending your territory. Typical rule that I've seen, if it's a 1-star system, 10 minutes or 1,000 points, whichever comes first. 2-star system, 15 minutes or 1,500 points, whichever comes first. 3-star system, 20 minutes or 2,000 points, whichever comes first. Typically, it should be the points coming first, because if you are the alliance defending, you should be able to score 100 points a minute. It's really not asking a lot, especially when you get 4 points for the capture nodes. If there's 12 capture nodes, 4 points a minute, and you've got them all covered, that's 48 points. Then you just need 52 other ships. Whether it's 52 people in your alliance, each putting in 1 ship, 26 people putting in 2 ships, some combination of whatever. If you own territory, and you're not being attacked, you should really have no trouble putting up at least 100 points a minute, if not more. So when you hit that 1,000 point threshold, you have a 1,000 point lead. Nobody's attacked you. Nobody else has joined the territory yet. Let your allies go. Let them go back to what they were doing. Let them go back to their farming, to their mining, to their event grinding, whatever it is that they got to do. Just say thanks for the help. We appreciate the support. See you next week. Send them on their way. Or just have a rule that this is how we're doing it in our little group, whatever these point thresholds or these minute thresholds are. And then people just know, hey, we hit the point threshold. Nobody's attacking. I'll see you. I'm going. Thanks for coming by. People are like, yeah, but then what if somebody shows up afterwards and jumps in at the overdrive period? Whatever. It's unlikely that anybody would wait that long. You have to wait until, 2/3 of the way through the event before the overdrive period happens. If you have at least 100 points a minute there, you have at least a 2,000 point head start at that time. You have 100 ships of your own in that system. So for anybody to come by and try to, steal one at the buzzer, basically, and come in at the last minute, um, it's very unlikely that they'd be successful. Yes, they would start scoring some points, but you'd also have that time to then quick call your allies and be like, hey, we're under attack. Can you send some ships back? Um, but again, you have such a huge lead at that point in time. It's very unlikely that somebody else would be able to chip in and swarm your system at the last minute and score enough points um, to overtake your lead. 30-minute system. By the time you hit the overdrive period, you should be over 2,000 points. It's going to be pretty hard for them to catch up. They have to kill all of your ships and keep killing them consistently, so you're not really scoring any more points, while they're still scoring hundreds and hundreds of points per minute to try and catch up to you before the timer runs out. Highly unlikely that that's going to happen. So do your allies a favor, release the burden a little bit on them, and set up some type of auto-release program, protocol. Put it in place. Have a discussion. Figure out what works best for you. Maybe you stretch it a little bit. Maybe you say, every fight is, at the halfway mark of the timer. If it's still uncontested, everybody can go. So that way they're only sitting here for 30 minutes instead of for 60 minutes. Um, that's up to you guys. Work it out amongst yourselves. But I'm going to wrap things up here. I've been going on for about an hour about territory capture. I think you guys got the idea. Obviously, there are various different strategies. If there's something here I didn't cover, feel free to leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about whatever your alliance is doing to help make it successful for its territory fights, or things you've seen other alliances doing that have worked against you. Remember, you have to adapt your strategy sometimes, in terms of how to best handle your opponents. If they're parking lot and they're camped up, and you're flying around in circles around them, well, then nobody's killing anybody, so then it really just comes down to who has more ships, right? So maybe you have to find different ways to interact if they're scoring and if they're outscoring you, and yeah. So thank you very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed things. Hope you learned a lot about territory capture, and I will see you around the galaxy.